This training session is part of the 2024 to 2025 Older Carers project, delivered in partnership between Age Cymru and Carers Trust Wales, and is funded by Welsh Government. The training aims to improve understanding of the vital role older carers play in care home transitioning. It focuses mainly on the needs of older carers around the process, which usually go hand in hand with the needs of the resident. It should complement other training you need as part of your role and is based on the good practice resource produced as part of this project. We cover older carers in context to increase understanding of older carers' position. We then talk through transition processes from before the resident moves in, and then go on to involving unpaid carers in care home life and include some information around end of life care planning. Here's a short quiz on older carers in Wales. Note down your answers, and then the answers are on the next slide. Which has the highest proportion of unpaid carers, England or Wales? What percentage of care and support at home is provided by unpaid carers, 38, 65 or 96%? And what proportion of carers in Wales are aged over 55? Is it 18, 55 or 75%? It's Wales that has the highest proportion. The last census data was taken under lockdown conditions, so it's taken a little longer than usual to get the detailed picture of caring across the UK nations. And within Wales, there's increased numbers of unpaid carers in rural areas where it's more difficult to get outside help, and also in more economically deprived communities. For the percentage of care and support at home provided, it is 96%, according to a Social Care Wales estimate. And without unpaid carers, our health and support systems would fall apart. What proportion of carers in Wales are over 55? It's 55%. Older people make the highest proportion, but the average age at which people become unpaid carers is often earlier. There are also differences in proportions of unpaid carers that are men or women. Working age women are more likely to be unpaid carers than working age men. And in Age Cymru's annual survey, we're seeing an increase in caring by older men in later years. This definition is the one used by Carers Wales, and the Welsh Government definition is similar but more formally worded. The Charter for Unpaid Carers accompanies the Act and includes the active offer of services through Welsh. All sectors, including health, social care, education and community-based organisations, have a role to play in supporting unpaid carers, and staff should be trained so that they can provide the correct information about carers' rights and local services. They can achieve this by providing information and assistance or signposting to relevant support, such as local authorities, carer services or third sector options. This isn't something for care staff to do, but it's important to know that help is out there for unpaid carers. Whether they've been able to access their rights will have affected their ability to continue to care for the person moving into the residential care. There are benefits to older carer involvement. They hold vital information about the resident that isn't in the paperwork. A care plan from social care can't cover all the aspects needed for good transitioning, and within transitions that happen in a hurry, there can be an insufficient time to get detailed information. Our wider work shows that many local authorities are struggling to access everyone's needs quickly enough, so getting a more detailed picture of the person and their life really, really helps. It aids with smoother transitions by involving older carers. With such a huge change in the resident's circumstances, all of the above information really helps. Daily habits, former occupation, hobbies, interests can all help reduce the stress of the move. And whilst that's the most important thing, it can help reduce care needs levels too. Carers often want to continue to carry on with aspects of their caring role once the person's moved into a care home. And feedback from carers shows that they feel that they are no longer valued often once the cared for has moved into residential care, and there's little recognition professionals that caring role does continue and that it needs to continue. Involving them in care home life can really help with this. And by involving older carers improves quality of life. So put together, the benefits add up to quality of life for all. Older carers have some specific needs, and this training is specifically focused on older carers. So we're looking at the characteristics on this and the next slide. Older carers are at increased likelihood of having a range of health issues and their own care needs. They're more likely to be sandwich caring. Many have other caring responsibilities that become more complex when the care for moves into residential care, if they're looking after somebody else as well. Older carers are at increased likelihood of digital exclusion. Limited access to the internet, where many others get lots of vital information, is an issue. So we promote how important it is to ensure that non-digital information is available. There can be additional barriers for those with protected characteristics, which can have an additional impact with age. For example, many LGBTQ plus people will have lived through times where their identity has been illegal, experienced homophobic acts, and inadvertent misunderstandings over time. And this is an additional barrier, and moving into care is another outing, or not for them. And how those issues are dealt with needs to be considered in care planning. For minoritized culture, it's important to get to know those specifics to aid in transitioning into residential care, which can include things like diet, religion, language needs, and quite a range of things. There's an increased need for Welsh language and other language and sensory needs and support for older carers. And there can be some differences in the financial support available for older people, depending on pension incomes and various things that you can and cannot access and are affected by various entitlements. This is a quote from our annual survey, What Matters to You, in 2024 from an older carer that gives a clear picture of the issues that older carers are facing. I support two sets of aging parents, one with Alzheimer's in the care home. I'm unable to sell the house to fund the care costs in the current climate. The house is on the market for 15 months. And there's been a 12% reduction in price. I lay awake at night wondering if there'll be sufficient funds when the house is sold to cover care costs and pay back what's owed to social services who are presently helping with fees until the house is sold. And what happens if the money runs out. So you can see the financial pressures that many are facing. And in our survey, 54% told us they found caring a challenge, which was a large increase over the year before. Carers were under increased strain before the pandemic hit, and we're increasingly hearing of carers feeling burnt out and feeling at fault for not being able to keep the person they care for to live independently any longer. These additional stressors have always been there in care home transitions, but may be increasing now. And that level of stress can affect the relationship between the cared for and the carer. So there may be real building of some of that relationship to do. 32% of older carers told us they were living with a disability. So that's a third who have their own care needs. Some will have some additional communication needs, and that also needs to be considered with unpaid carers. We heard that 5% had left their job to care full time. We also heard from some that wanted to go back to work once the person moved to live in a care home. And we also heard how others had reduced their working hours to accommodate care. Others were coming out of retirement as they were struggling with the cost of living increases. So it seems likely that there are more older carers who've struggled to provide those outside opportunities as often as possible, whilst juggling work and other commitments. They're also more likely to tell us they struggle with their mental and emotional health and they miss seeing families and friends, and that they struggle to access transport. And again, experiences say a lot more than statistics. This is another quote from our survey. I have to care for my elderly mother, disabled son and husband who was in poor health, in addition to working full-time and doing all the household chores, shopping and gardening. I've lost two close friends in the last year. I work predominantly from home, which is often lonely and isolating. I have no friends. Yeah, so unpaid carers that are very busy can also be incredibly lonely as well. So actually, building those relationships is so important. So coming on to the guide, The transition is a moment of great change for that person, where they're moving into a new living space, new routines, relationships, and activities. It offers a unique chance for staff to learn about the individual and to get to know what gives them meaning in life. Holistic planning benefits the resident, staff, and paid carers alike. We know from our engagement with older people in our campaign work how pressures in health and social care mean time for planning the move can be limited at best. In these cases, it's really important that all those things should have happened pre-moved are caught up with, but at the same time as not being too rushed, because they take time to do well. Excuse me. In terms of communication, it's really important that carers have enough information to help them. Things like what of their own items the resident can take to feel at home, whether there's fixed visiting times, and a range of things will be important for them to know. We'll come to talk on about advanced care and financial planning in a little more detail shortly, but this is a really important area for residents and their families and carers. And it's vital that the resident and their carers have opportunities to talk about these things as they're through the transitions after they've moved in, as things can change. Tours and setting the scene allow introductions to all staff at the home that helps put the resident and the unpaid carers at ease. So knowing those people that are providing care for the person that they care for is so important. Language needs, as we've mentioned before, are really important, particularly around Welsh. Are the care workers that speak the language of the resident? In cases where caseworkers are not fluent in Welsh, for example, what other ways can their communications need be met? Could this be through having television shows on in Welsh or radio in the Welsh language? Because that can help ease things. And pet rules are something that comes back through our engagement, and allowing pets to visit can be a really good way of aiding the transition process. Learning about each other and involving carers in care home life. The movement into a care home often coincides with a loss of things that give a person meaning in life and may also mean stopping an activity that was important to that individual. Many gain meaning from participation in social groups or the wider community and can struggle to adapt to life without them once they move into a care home. Having the freedom to choose our activities, routines, social interactions, living spaces, clothing, and many other aspects of daily life is vital to living in a meaningful way. The sudden loss of this independence can be a shock, which may cause some mental distress. So asking open questions like, what does a good day like, can really help. You can also ask about activities they and the resident like to do, and if there's anything else the carer wants to get involved with. Carer feedback is that phone calls are often received when things aren't going so well. So when there's time, it's a good idea to give the unpaid carer a call as well to let them know the resident's had a good day. It could be anything from enjoying a meal or having a good conversation with them. And are there any activities that the carer can be involved in at the care home, or are there any community groups close by that they can link in with to reduce that isolation and loneliness that a lot of them feel? Returning to advanced care planning and end-of-life care. Advanced care planning is a voluntary process that allows people to make plans for their future healthcare. It involves discussions with a person's care providers and family about their wishes and their priorities for care. The goal of an advanced care plan is to ensure that a person's preferences are respected when they are unable to communicate their wishes. Residents coming into a care home may have some of these areas already arranged. It can be difficult to have these discussions, but we know how important they are. So space and time needs to be available for this important area. Wills and funeral plans. We know about wills and their importance, but not everyone has one, and these need consideration as well. And in terms of advanced decisions or living wills are used to document what someone wants to happen in the event that they are not able to communicate their own decisions. This could be because they are unconscious or have lost mental capacity as a result of dementia, for example. It allows people to refuse some parts of medical treatment in the future, and putting advanced decisions in place makes sure family and carers know what to do when the resident is unable to communicate them themselves. And these are living documents, so decisions can be changed and they need to have the opportunity to do that. A power of attorney is a legally recognised document that lets someone make decisions on the resident's behalf when they are not able to make them themselves. These could be for financial matters, or they can be for care matters, or they can be for both. And it's important to know the difference in these and who has those powers of attorney for which area. This is the end of the training session. If you have any questions, please contact us on these details. It's carers@agecymru.org.uk, and there's information on our website. Thank you for watching.